Hey, Dr. Lamb.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I was on another Zoom with Dr. Shepherd.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Okay, Marshall is having a hard time getting in. I've sent her the link again, but you have to hit Control-click to get in there. And I told her to do that, but she still has not been able to get in. I've got two computers open in case there are people that.
All righty.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Okay, but I've got both computers open, and I've saved that link at the top, so I've copied it so that I can keep sending it if I have to.
Excellent.
So if
Dr. Shepherd didn't get his internship. That was what we were working on. He thought he was missing something. So
you sent the link to Dr. Crawford, right?
I probably didn't. Let me forward it.
Okay, because he sent me a message, and I told him that.
That's the one to him.
Okay.
Dr. Stedman, how are you, man?
Doing well. How are you, Dr.
Doing well, sir.
Okay, it's good to see you again.
Dr. Lamb keeping me straight here, get me all set up.
Yeah, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him going. And I should have already checked to see that he was going. But until today, I had all the courses in there, and then today they disappeared with just to my courses. And so I don't know what happened after Blackboard crashed last night. So Robin and Jamal, anybody else I need to send this to?
That would be it.
All right. They should be able to join us now.
Let me ask if Marshall, if you're there, let us know that you're there. I need to see if you got in.
I'm in, finally.
Okay, good. Okay, got you. Okay.
Excellent. There's Dr. Crawford.
Hey, Dale.
How are you?
No, this time of year.
Good.
Everyone has gone insane.
Jennifer said that she had problems getting into Blackboard, and I know that there have been some issues, Dr. Lamb, because a 605 student, William White, he finally last night about 12 o'clock, they finally got him in, and he had been trying for several days.
Blackboard went down during our, that's why I said we can't all do class on Tuesday night. Everybody wants to do class on Tuesday night. So everybody got on last night, and people that I had requested maybe not to do Tuesday, do Thursday, decided to do Tuesday, and we crashed Blackboard last night. And all of it's still not back up. So I was on with the EDCI group last night, and I got Steve's shell for 601 covered, and before I could get mine covered in 603 and go over the activities, Blackboard froze. And then about an hour later, it crashed. It froze and wouldn't let you open anything. Then it crashed, and then he got it. I sent an email to Bob. He got it back up for about 8 minutes, and then it completely crashed. And then he didn't get it back up until like nearly midnight last night before I could get through. And it's been today, I don't have all the courses back today. I only have the ones that I'm teaching. I had access through Web Connect to everybody's yesterday. I don't have that today, so I don't know if that's coming back or not. Bob's working on it. But the big thing is we can't all meet on Tuesday night. We got to spread our classes Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They've asked that we do that. That's why I said I couldn't move this one to Tuesday.
Holy crap.
They said the capacity was too much for Tuesday already. And sure enough, we crashed last night.
Can you fix me a water?
So you get everybody's classes on at one time, and everybody logs into Blackboard, especially the first night when everybody's watching to see what's in there. We overloaded it last night. That's just part of the process. All right. So I've got 7:01, and we're recording. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. I wanted to do before we started, I don't see her on here. There's Dr. Hamilton. I was looking for see if Rosalind was with us tonight. Rosalind, are you with us? I don't, let's see. Somebody's chatting. Okay, yeah, first announcement, Blackboard is giving us some problems, so I apologize for that, but we got too many people on it last night and crashed it, so hopefully it'll get better. But Rosalind posted her OMA Task 1 today. It was outstanding. It was absolutely great. And so I wanted to thank her, and I feel so good about going into the 603. Welcome back. I know we hadn't been gone long. This is MELS 603 for the C6, 8, 10, and 12 sections. We'll be meeting on Wednesday night, 7. As I said, there's too many classes on Tuesday nights, and so we crashed Blackboard. We should be okay tonight. Not a lot of people meet on Wednesdays, and then they're full on Thursdays as well. So we have to find a day of the week that we have space on the servers for us to do this. Appreciate you all being with us. We're looking forward to the summer. I'll be the lead instructor this summer. Dr. Stedman will be with us, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Shepard, Dr. Crawford. We're all back again for the summer go-round. This is MELS 603. This summer, we'll be doing the OMA and the SCIP. I will cover the OMA tonight, along with some content from Zoom session 1. But where I want to start with us tonight is our Blackboard shell, to make sure that we know how to use our shell and all the things that are available to us. I'm on the course overview page. First step is to do your enrollment verification, very important. If you haven't done that, go ahead and do it as soon as you can to verify that you're with us. If you don't, they may put you down as a no-show. Here's your welcome from me. Here's my information. I am the program coordinator and clinical internship supervisor. I am in Craig Hall, main campus. I'm there pretty much every day. You can call me on my cell phone. My office phone will tell me if I've missed the call if I'm not in. But call me on my cell. My office hours are anytime. The only time you can't call me is between 12:30 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. Other than that, I'm available. I have to try to sleep for 4 hours a day. I've done a lot of bad things in my life, so I don't sleep much. So other than that, you're welcome to call me nights, weekends, holidays. I don't care. It's good. We're good to go. Here's our syllabus if you need to see it. Here's our textbooks. We have 2, Principal's Guide to School Law and Resource Management. Those are 2 books that you will keep. They are worth the money, especially the Principal's Guide to School Law. You will use that a lot in the real world. So the second thing to do on your next steps after you purchase your books is enter your contact into discussion board, and you know how to do that. Simply click on discussion board and weekly activities. And the first one there will be your contact information. I see we have 8 people who have already put that in. I'll leave a welcome message for them. If that wasn't up earlier today, it's back. But here are your 6 weekly activities. We have 6 weekly activities and 4 case studies. I'll talk more about them in just a minute. Also in discussion board, we have a place where you can put your work in for review. This summer, we're only going to do 1 written peer review for OMA Task 1, 2, and 3. and 1 written peer review for skip tasks 1, 2, and 3. We don't review task 4s. We only do 1 review in the summertime, and we don't do any review. Let me mute. Okay. And we don't do any video reviews in the summertime either. We only do written reviews because we will do 4 case studies where you will be online together collaborating the week before, and then the week of the case study, your group will be presenting your case study to the group and to me, and we will have a discussion of those presentations that evening. So you will get your virtual collaboration in 603 comes from case studies and not from the evidence artifacts. We know that you can do that now. You proved that last semester. So we're moving on to a higher level usage of digital technology, and we're working this summer on virtual collaboration on creating new work, not just reviewing existing work. That's the next level that we're taking you to this summer. So again, no video peer reviews this summer. You do 1 of your peers in your group. You just have to do 1 on each of the 3 tasks of the 2 evidences we're doing this summer. And then we're going to spend our time on case study. All right, we're good to go. So all of those things are here. Your weekly activities, again, there are 6 of those. And I'll go ahead and speak to those. In the weeks that we don't have a case study, I will do content that week, and there are activities that go along with that content. Now, I implore you, please read these now. Most of these things need to be done before school is out. If you wait till school's out to try to do some of these things, interviewing people or sitting in an IEP meeting or watching a discipline process happen, it won't be there because school will be out. So make sure you read each of these activities. We have 6 of these, and I have 6 evenings where I will cover content related to these activities. We have 6 of those, and we have 4 case studies. So that's how the summer goes. It's 10 weeks, 4 case studies, 6 activities. The Zooms on the activity week go along with those activities. I have documents that go along with those. That kind of explain and in a real world scenario what we want you to learn from having done those. So that is the content for the summer. The skip, the OMA, 4 case studies, 6 weekly activities. Here's the grading system. There's 4,200 possible points in the summer course, and you can see how the grading system breaks down. So you'll know at any time when you go to My Grades how many points you got. Now, let's talk about posting work for review. In the summer, you post work for review in discussion board, and I read it just like I did Rosalind's today. I'm fast. I read morning and evening. I will get back to you within hopefully 12 hours, no more than 24. I will tell you it's good, let's move on, or I will give you a suggestion or 2 of what might be missing. I don't read them for grammar or APA. That's what your peer reviewers are for. I read them for content, and we'll keep you moving along. Now, if it's bad enough that just a little small suggestion or 2 won't fix it, that's when we go to the coach's shell. Your coach, you will have a shell for each of your coaches. Now, Dr. Hamilton and Dr. Shepard, I'll have to double check and make sure that their shells are up and going tomorrow. As I said, Blackboard crashed last night and everything's not back in place yet. We just discovered that Dr. Shepard's shell is not in there. So I'll have to get his shell put back, or I'll have to fix the one that he's got. And I'll be working on that later tonight. So you will have Dr. Stedman has a clinical shell. We prefer that you use the clinical internship shell because they're already built out. So under my courses, you should have a clinical internship shell for Dr. Crawford, Dr. Stedman, Dr. Shepard, Dr. Hamilton. That's where you don't put anything in there unless I tell you to. I'm the lead instructor. If I read your work or Dr. Stedman reads your work in his shells, He's the other instructor, other lead instructor this summer. If we read your work in in the shells when you put it in discussion board, and it's not good enough that we can't just give you a quick suggestion to fix it, we will then send you to your coach's shell, and they will work with you individually. Again, intentional abandonment. We're not going to have you submit everything to your coach. We're only going to use them on an as-needed basis in 603. When you get to 605, you don't even use them at all by the time you get to 605. But we're pulling some of that support back. It's still there. If you need it, we're more than happy to work with you. But we're trying to, to end the dependency on the coach to get you through. So in the summer, we'll still send you there if need be, or you can go there on your own if you think that you need their help. You can choose to do that. But you submit your work in your class shell. Me or Dr. Stedman will be on it quickly. We'll get back to you as to what your next steps are. Just like today with Rosalind, when she submitted task 1, I said, it's excellent. Continue till you get your 1 peer review. Move on to task 2. And we'll give you directions of what to do. Remember, we've only got 10 weeks and we've got 2 evidence. We don't have the luxury of 16 weeks this summer. So where we make up the time is not having you have to put it in the instructor's shell and the coach's shell and wait on the coach to look at it too. Only the instructor looks at it this summer. They then send you to the coach if they need to. Anybody have any questions on that process? Now, you can go straight to the coach if you want to, but that may slow you down a little bit. But if you feel you need to, that's fine with us. We do not mind you going on your own, but we won't send you unless there's a real need to send you. We'll work with you in our shell and keep things moving. So that's the process of how the course works in the summertime. The weekly schedule is right here. I've already got it loaded. Let me pull it up. As you can see, we have a unique Zoom link tonight. Other than that, it's going to be the same for the rest of the weeks. I had to do it that way. And so we come on every week. Tonight we're doing discussion board activity 1. So I have some documents that go along with that, with those activities that I'll cover the second half tonight. Next week, we'll be doing human resources. I have activities. The 3rd week, we'll be doing special populations, including exceptional children. The 4th week, we'll do the case study. Now, sometime in the 2nd week, the Zoom master needs to get in touch with all the members of their Zoom team and get together and plan a time when you can get together and work collaboratively on your case study. Now, what we expect on a case study is a brief PowerPoint that addresses all of the parts of the case study, and I'll go over those in just a minute. And then once the night is over and your group has presented, you will write a half-page reflection on what you got from the process, whether it's the case itself, the feedback in class, the process of collaborating with your teammates, just a half-page reflection of what you think you got or what you didn't get or what you had hoped to get and didn't get or you didn't know you were going to get but got. Tell us about the process. Reflect back on what happened. That reflection may be the most valuable piece. But now these PowerPoints that you do, your group does collaboratively, and then you're going to present to all of us. These they have to be brief because we've got a lot of people to present. They have to be brief. We're probably going to rotate you through in terms of everybody won't present every time. Maybe we'll have to look at that. We've got 4 weeks, but everybody's got to go ahead and be prepared. We may not call on everybody, and everybody may need to be prepared. That's kind of the way we normally do it. Everybody's ready, and we get as many as we can in the time that we have allotted. Now, sometimes we go longer on those nights if people are really enjoying them. But now those presentations only last, we ask you to, kind of hold it to 10 minutes. Your PowerPoint shouldn't be more than 5 or 6 slides at the most. We just want to make sure that you got the big pieces of it and collaborated together. That's what we're working on is collaboration.
Dr.
So just
Lamb,
like last class, we submit for review 1 week and final grade. Yes, we're rolling right on out a week at a time. And I have that right here. So sometime by Sunday, and everything's due at Sunday at 9 p.m. By Sunday at 9, your task 1 is due, task due. And you can see how I've got them paced out here. One's due every Sunday at 9 o'clock. And we'll get them back to you. And when we tell you that they're good to move on, as soon as you get your peer review, if you've already got your peer review before we get in, we'll say go ahead and submit it for evaluation.
okay.
But just like Rosalind's today, I was the first one in about an hour after she put it in. And so I told her she needed to get 1 more peer review before she submitted it for evaluation. And that peer review might have had something she needed to work on. But as soon as she got that peer review, you can submit it for evaluation and you move on. You can't hold these things very long. So we'll get to you same day, or if you put it in late, we'll get to you the next day. So again, here comes another question. So your OMA is due this Sunday. That is correct. Your OMA 1 is due this Sunday. That is correct. All right. So that's the weekly schedule, and you can see how it works. I give you 3 weeks to work on your evidences to kind of get the OMA, pretty much out of the way before we have to go to case studies. That's intentional. I need for you to focus on your OMA to start with because we got to hit the ground running. And then we have your case studies. And so the case studies, the directions are right here for your case studies. And then the drop box is in the same place. You put your group presentation here, your PowerPoint, your personal reflection there. Here are the directions. You have to look at the role of the principal to start with. And what that is the law, the state law that says this is what the principal has to do. Grade and classify students, produce a school improvement plan, all of those things that you have to do. And it also has the 4 ethical paradigms that will be in your administrative contract, the 4 areas of ethics that you have to maintain in order to keep your job. Let's look at that. That's actually in our group of materials for the evening. So this is North Carolina General Statute 115C 288, the duties and powers of the principal. The first one is to grade and classify pupils. So guess what the first case study is about? Grading and classifying pupils. Everything's kind of linked together. And so you have to adjudicate the case study based on the chapter in the principal law book. We tell you what chapter to read, what things to look at. We tell you to look at, for the first case study, look at arbitrary and capricious. For those of you who are online tonight, I'll give you the secret clue since you joined us. The secret clue on the first case study is 0 tolerance. I'm not going to say anything else. That's part of arbitrary and capricious stuff. 0 tolerance is the key to the first case study. All right, and so you have to adjudicate all of these case studies based on relevant case law that we will tell you to read from the principal book or any that you might bring in. And you also have to adjudicate that case study on the 4 paradigms of ethics: justice, care, critique, and profession. Have they met those standards as well? Because that will get you unemployed just as fast as breaking the law is doing things that are unethical. So law and ethics go together. Now, the point of this course is for you not to lose your house. I can't guarantee that people won't sue you. That will happen. My job, our job this summer is that you don't lose when you go to court, that you have done the right, ethical, legal thing so that you won't be subject to tort liability, which means that they can sue you personally and you lose your house. This is about winning. I hate to be that crass, but my job is to teach you how to win when you go to court. Because I can't keep you out of court. but I can keep you from losing your house and losing your case. And so if you understand that we adjudicate all of our decisions against the law and relevant court cases and the 4 ethical paradigms that are in your contract, you should be fine. And that's what we're trying to do this summer. So you're gonna adjudicate all of your case studies based on the law for the principal, the ethics for the principal, and relevant court cases in that area of law that we have you read for that case. It's a lot more, it's easier to do it than it is to talk about it, actually. And the first one's about grading and classifying pupils, and it's the very first law right here. But also you have to read in the principal's handbook to school law, you have to read about arbitrary and capricious. And the attendant piece of that is zero tolerance, which of course is illegal. So, the first case study should be a cakewalk for you. They'll get progressively more difficult though. Now, in terms of the case studies, we put a lot of extra things in the case studies to distract you, but you got to focus on the law. The first case study is really about grading, classifying students, arbitrary and capricious. There's a lot of other little things in there that we throw in to kind of scare you, to kind of distract you, but don't focus on them, focus on the law, and you'll be fine. All right, so that's how we do the case studies. The first one's about grading and classifying pupils. The second case study, these are all hot topics, by the way. The second case study is about funding in the wake of the Leandro case in North Carolina, which is a national case. So you're going to need to read about Leandro because it has everything to do with school funding in North Carolina and national. Leandro is the big deal in school funding. That's why we have you do a case that works out of Leandro. And here are the things that you answer right here. And here again is your lesson plan role of the principal. Case study 3, again, timely topics. This is about gender and lifestyle choices, bullying, cyberbullying. This is a big one. This is number 2, according to Richard Schwartz. These issues of sexual orientation, these are number 2 hotspot. And so we have one in here, and the principal's actions. Heckler's veto plays a big part in this one. And then number 4, this is last minute cutting edge stuff here. Don't get distracted that I set this in a foreign country. This is about the inclusion model in exceptional children. It's become the hot topic in schools. Now, the twist on this case is it's not EC parents who are complaining and threatening to sue. It's regular ed parents because the EC kids are in the inclusion classes. That's the twist. That's the latest. So this one's going to be really good. I can't wait to see some of the responses you have on this. So these are 4 very timely topics. They are the 4 hottest topics in school law, or were at the end of the fall semester when I went to the 3-day legal seminar that I go to. It's only held once every 3 years. They do updates in between, but the big one where all 12 attorneys show up, DPI is there and ASA and all of those, McKimmon Center in Raleigh, 3-day deal. This is the 4 hottest things. So this is hot off the presses. These were new for spring. I put a new set in pretty much every spring or every other spring according to when that conference is held, or if there's anything that strikes my fancy at the updates in between. So these case studies are always timely, relevant, modern, up to date, day to day. This is what you'll face right now as a school administrator. These are not theoretical things from years past. These are 2019 issues that we have you work on. So those are your case studies. Here are all the things on Zooms. Every time we have a Zoom, if we're not doing a case study, here are the materials that I'll be covering. They are right here. I have all of them in these 2 folders here. Here are your case studies. Here are your discussion boards. Here's your OMA task and prompts. What to do with those. There is a template. It's just a bare template. It doesn't have anything in it. I am going to give you one gift tonight. And there's your example of the OMA. The skip, there's no template at all. And so here's where you turn in all of your assignment Dropbox for all of your different tasks once they're done. You put in task 1, 2, 3, 4, your final evidence narrative, the screenshot of your evaluated OMA, and you put in your 3 peer reviews that you did for each of the tasks. Remember, you just have to do one per task of one of your teammates. And we have a turn it in check, and I've updated those boxes so you can make sure that you have cited all your references correctly before it goes to task stream. Your handbooks, the grade of incomplete policy and withdrawal policy. So it's all laid out pretty well, and it's pretty straightforward. Now, you know that I am a law and finance person. I am an operations person. So this reflects me and what I do. I don't say that to be boastful. What I'm saying is there's not a lot of frills. I don't do a lot of those things. Law is pretty cut and dried. A lot of this stuff won't be opinion. There is a right and wrong answer to these case studies. They're not like some of the other case studies that we do in other parts of the MELS program or LS or CNI, where it's a discussion, it's a debate, it's there are several different options. There's no options in law and finance. You either follow the law or you don't. And nobody can give you permission to break the law. So, for example, when we get to the one on gender, that you don't support those 2 young men's lifestyles immaterial. That's not part of the case. You have to follow the law because that's what they hired you to do and you signed the contract to do. If you have personal objections about their lifestyles, there may be people that agree with you, but that's not part of it. When you signed on to uphold the law. Law is clear. So please remember that this course is kind of cut and dry. This is not Dale's opinion type stuff. There are legal cases and precedents. And if you ignore those, you do that at your own peril. That's when you lose your house. Now, the example that I'll use with you is this. You know about the Bridgegate case in New Jersey. Governor Chris Christie, his administration was angry at a mayor of a town just on the other side of the bridge going out of New Jersey to New York, and so they closed the bridge and caused a big problem in the town. Well, that was an illegal act. Now, the governor, because he was an elected official, he was indemnified. He basically he had clemency or pardon because he was an elected official. But hired staff don't have that same luxury. And so a member of his staff has had to go to jail over that. I'm not into the politics of party or any of that business, but what I'm telling you is the school board may come out and members of the school board may say things that they don't support this lifestyle or that or the other. They're allowed to do that as elected officials. You as hired staff have to follow the law. And you have to understand the distinction between your role and their role. You don't have the legal protections that they have. You do not have that immunity that elected officials do. You are hired staff. No immunity for you. So if you intentionally break the law, there will be trouble for you. So that's how we approach this course is that these are pretty much absolutes. They're not opinions. They're not just, do it if you can kind of things. You must learn the law and you must learn to follow the law. If you don't, it won't go well for you. I'm going to pause and I'm going to just kind of extemporaneously here. And I know he's not expecting this at all because I told him I wouldn't do it. Let's see. I'm looking to see who we got here. Oh, there he is. I want John. John's a high school principal. Dr. John Shepard's with us tonight. Dr. John's a high school principal. One of the things that's really difficult for high school principals is all the rules and regulations and laws surrounding competitive athletics. Speak to the eligibility list in high school, Dr. John. I hadn't prepped him now. I told him he didn't have to be a part of the program tonight. But
Yeah,
but speak to the eligibility list for high school athletes.
yeah, I can tell you that nothing preps you for being a high school principal per se. But when it comes to an eligibility list, just like many other things, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, whether you like athletics or not, or whether you're an athletic person or not, or you find yourself compartmentalizing that as a high school principal, it is going to be a part of your job because athletics are part of high school, and you have to have a mind for that, at least the legal part of it or the athletic eligibility. So the North Carolina High School Athletic Association has an entire book of eligibility requirements for each sport. And those, in many cases, and it happens every year, and you're going to deal with it, are challenged by lawyers, are challenged by courts, are challenged by parents, and so you have to be on the ball with eligibility requirements. Eligibility requirements come down to your local LEA compared to the state, and so the state has certain requirements, but then your local LEA also has requirements on top of that, so you have to be aware of both areas. You have to have personnel and staff under you that are knowledgeable as well, but it is going to take place where sooner or later those eligibility requirements, grades, attendance, drug and alcohol, conduct, those are challenged, and you have to stay on top of them, and you have to know, and with great documentation, what your students are trying to do, or what they have done, what parents are capable of doing, what they have done. I took at least 3 trips down to Raleigh this year to meet with executive committees over athletes moving from one LEA to the next and transferring eligibility, and lawyers challenging those, parents filing hardships. And that's a part of your job that you don't think about when you get into it, but it is definitely a part of your job that you have got to put a handle on, because like it or not, that's what gets you in the newspaper. You don't want a black eye over an eligibility issue. So you got to be on top of those things. And a lot of times that connects with school law. And so you have to be very aware of the eligibility issues.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Dr. John. And my point in bringing him in tonight to speak to that is this: there is a hierarchy, and we're going to talk about that when we talk in the OMA just in a minute. Federal law comes first, then state law, then local board policy, then best practices, and then when you're scheduling, teacher input comes last. But in terms of law, federal, state, then local, and you have to balance all 3. And what Dr. John was talking about there is this: if you get this wrong and you deny some kid the opportunity, you will get sued and you will lose if you don't have your documentation in place. I mean, you say, well, what's the chances of me getting sued being a principal? Very, very good, especially over eligibility issues, access issues. Access and eligibility will get you sued faster than anything else. Access in terms of kids with special population kids, their parents will sue you in a heartbeat. EC 504, gifted, Title I, kids who are in your intervention system, MTSS, their parents, access issues will get you sued.
And there are plenty of advocacy groups and lawyers that want their name on the first lawsuit out there, and they're just looking for it. So you got to have your ducks in a row.
I can't believe it. This is absolutely the truth. I'm not making this up.
It's so
I came
true.
running home tonight on 2 wheels to get here in time for this. Traffic was terrible. I came in, my wife had the TV on. I brought dinner. We sat down to dinner. Commercial came on the TV. It was an ambulance chasing lawyer advertising for EC parents to get in touch with him to sue school district. First time ever I've seen that on TV. Remember, I live just north of Charlotte here. My primary residence when I'm not back at the college, I come home here about once a week. And so I have Charlotte TV here. There is a lawyer advertising today. I saw it myself in Charlotte, trying to get parents of EC kids to get in touch with him to sue the school district. Saw it today, less than an hour before we started this class, when the 6 o'clock news was on. So eligibility and access will kill you. Those are the two areas where they'll beat you down on lawsuits. So you've got to know the law. You've got to keep up. You've got to understand your responsibilities. Again, grades are about access or denial of access. Grades fall under access. Kid doesn't get the right grades, he can't get in the right classes, can't get in the right college. You denied him access. If you have impinged or infringed on his rights through the grading, so that's an access issue. So I can't stress enough how important this course is. It's the only one you're going to have like this, and I don't want you to be woefully unprepared. Yes, we have a lot to do this summer, but it's important. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure you understand that you've got to take these lessons to heart. That's why I said buy the books. You're going to use them. I'm gonna pause and catch my breath and answer some questions now. Dr. Crawford said to those of you in elementary schools, that particular issue's found its way even to that level. It's not just a high school or middle. He's exactly right. Concussions, info, and physicals are biggies. That's right. Need a good again. Access and eligibility. That's the eligibility. The concussions, anything to do with athletics is an eligibility issue. Making kids set out and not be able to play, not letting them play and not setting them out. Again, those are access issues. Homeschooled parents demanding, again, that's an access. Homeschool parents demanding access to your facilities. No, homeschool kids, they demand access to your facilities. That is correct. Thank you for that. I'll call on Dr. Crawford here. Especially, yeah. Again, the two biggies they're going to get you on: access and eligibility, coming and going. Access for groups, access for homebound, access for homeschooled, charter school people demanding access. Eligibility on the other side, eligibility not only to play, but when injured, when can they play again? Those are the two biggies that you're going to get into. The case on gender is about access. Actually, it's about access to the prom. The principal has banned the 2 gay boys from the prom. That's an access issue. And so you will have that one. The first one on the grading is an eligibility issue. He's not going to be eligible for his summer program because of his grade. All of them are access and eligibility. The EC one is it's again access. That my child's access to an equal education is being impinged by the EC kids. Again, they're all either access or eligibility. Those are the two biggies in school law. All right. Good. Dr. Stedman, Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Crawford, anything that you would like to add from your experiences in school law is a general umbrella as to why this is so important.
Dr. Lamb, I will just say that in my years as a principal, I never was sued, but I can't remember a single year that I did not have to deal with legal issues. And because I was careful to document, careful to follow the law, that was the only reason that I did not end up in court. So it's very, very important that you documentation, and these sitting principals will tell you documentation is important. You've got to make sure, because you never know when they're going to walk in your office and and demand to see thus and so, and you need to make sure that you have your ducks in a row. And I just want to remind students, our job is not to, we don't want to come across as being forceful and scare you, but we're just being real, because these are real issues that you will face on a daily basis once you take this role. And I think any of these principals can back this up.
Oh, yeah, I'll echo Dr. Stebbin. The point is not to scare you at all. It's to educate you so that you can deal with this. We don't want you scared. You won't be thinking rationally and you won't do the right thing. No, the point is not to scare you. The point is just to educate you that this is the job. This is what the job entails. And if you know that, if you're forewarned, then you're prepared.
Yeah, it's really a change in mindset for a lot of folks, and that's really what you're doing as you step out. It's you're becoming an executive educator, and so you have to think about the system as a whole and start to become a system thinker. And you're really thinking for the district, and you're thinking for the interest of your entire school, and that's a difference than thinking as a teacher leader. And so you have to really think about what that documentation means, how you document conversations, how you provide evidence that you have in fact provided proper access, that you have in fact have conversations with the powers to be or parent groups or advocacy groups to ensure proper access. And once you document those things and you start to think that way, then the subsequent fear of a lawsuit kind of goes away, because you're doing those right things, thinking the proper way.
Yeah. The point is to be prepared, not scared. Scared won't help you.
And it's important what you say, because you should always know what you're talking about, but it's just as important how you say it. You've got to be, as a principal, you've got to know what you're talking about, and then you've got to be careful how you deliver it as well.
Especially with these things.
Yes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
People love to come into your offices with these things and press record, and you don't even know it.
Right.
Yeah.
I would add to everything that has been said is you can't memorize your whole board policy, but anytime that anything does come up, just go back and reread and familiarize yourself before you really say or do anything. When you do go to court, they're going to want to know what is the law, what was your policy, did your system have a policy? And the first question is going to be, did you follow that policy?
Mm-hmm.
And if you followed that policy or you did what the law says, then you're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you didn't follow the policy that you may have a problem. And so just take a minute, familiarize yourself. You don't have to respond immediately. Just take a minute, know what you're doing and saying, and familiarize yourself, and just take care of yourself that way. Give yourself a minute.
And that's that. Thank you, Dr. Ham. Again, this is about taking care of yourself. Yes, you've got to become a system thinker, and you got to, but if you protect yourself, you're protecting your district. That's the thing that you've got to remember. You're not only protecting them, but you're protecting you, and vice versa. I don't want you to lose your house, as I told you. But if you don't lose your house, that means they don't get sued too. If you lose your house, they're going to have to pay money as well. So
Right.
It starts with you, but then, as Dr. Shepard said, you start as a system thinker. Being scared doesn't help, though. That's a hint. Remain calm, think through it, get your manual out, your policy manual, your law book, think through it, call the person that, the associate general counsel in your district. If you need to do that, get an emergency call into them, but make sure you know what the law or policy is and that you follow it. And that you don't just, we've been doing that forever, and I knew we wasn't supposed to, but I didn't want to have to change that, or there'd be an uproar if I did something different. No, nobody can give you permission to break the law. So that's I hope that we've impressed upon you the importance of what we're trying to do this summer, and I appreciate your tolerance of us going through this. I want to briefly go through the OMA again tonight. I know I've already covered this for you last semester. For those of you who weren't there, if you click on OMA task and prompts, you will see what we have to do this summer in task 1 of the OMA. You're putting together you're putting together your knowledge of legal requirements and planning instructional time. I have a document for you that will cover both North and South Carolina. I put the relevant information in it for you. You can look it up on your own, but I have that document under Zoom session 1. I have that document that will help you get started on your OMA. So in task 1, you're going to look at your internal and external structure. And so for the external, go to your SACS or your advanced ed and look at your community, the average education, wealth, poverty, average income, those kinds of things. Give us the background. And then the internal analysis of your school is going to be grades, attendance, academic achievement, teachers, everything about the inside of your school and everything that's on your state report card. All those things is your internal context, including duty roster, supervision schedule, master schedule. All of those things should be in there. Look specifically at the example that we've got. And then speak to how your budget, your local school budget, not your purchasing process, but how your local school budget is developed, and what role the school improvement team plays in development of that budget. Because what we're looking for is a triangulation where the budget and the master schedule support the school improvement plan. That's the trifecta. That's what we're looking for. When we go out and look at a school operationally, here's our school improvement plan. Here's the initiatives that we have determined are important in our building. Does our master schedule reflect that? For example, we need to work on reading. Have we allotted more time in our schedule to reading? Have we allotted more resources in our budget to read? That's what we're looking for. So when we talk about the school budget, we talk about what role the school improvement team has in that to make sure that the local budget and the master schedule support the school improvement plan. So you will do an analysis of your school context. You demonstrate a district, state, and federal policy, law, and district mandates that regulate structures, rules, and procedures in place for students and staff. That's everything from your staff handbook, everything from your state report card. It's everything from your opening part of your SACS in terms of your context. And it's also your master schedule, your duty roster, and supervision schedule. For those of you who don't remember, master schedule is your classes. Duty roster is where you're supposed to be during the day to supervise the cafeteria, the bus lot, the car lot. Are you making sure that you've got 1 to 45? That is the law. You must have 1 adult for every 45 students in the cafeteria or parking lot. And supervision schedule is for your extracurricular activities, ball games, evening activities. You have to have supervision at those as well. And that's what we're talking about here. Also look at your special needs populations, and that's more than EC. Special needs includes exceptional children 504 gifted, Title I, and your intervention team referral students, and your English as second language. Let me make sure I get that right now. English as second language, Title I, EC 504 gifted, and also remember that intervention kids get the same protections as EC. So it's actually just 5. Look at all those in terms of what they're supposed to get versus what they actually get. That's your gap. And so that's what we're working on right now. Now, you're going to get a break when we get to OMA Task 2. Remember, OMA Task 2, you take the APTEL Task 1, 2, and 3, take the directions and the label of APTEL off of them, put them together, and that is OMA Task 2. The reason it is because we made it be that way. We made you do a staff development plan for instruction last semester, knowing that if you did that, task 2 would be done for you this summer. So if you read the directions, looks very close or eerily similar to what you did in the APTEL, because we did not allow you to do things like PBIS and other things. We had you do instruction. You built your staff your professional growth plan around instruction. Well, so right here it is, and so everything that's in task 1, 2, and 3 of the APTEL is there. It satisfies this one. It's just a copy and paste. Take the directions and labels of APTEL off of it, put it together. There it is. So that's task 2. Task 3 is building the schedule. Now, you have to do your assessments. But now when you assess the strengths and weaknesses, don't assess the strengths and weaknesses of the schedule itself. That's part of it. Assess the strengths and weaknesses of your process. The master schedule is the product of a process. Who decided where the stickies go when we were doing the grids and what teachers were teaching what, where, and when? Did we start with federal law? Did we bring all of our special populations in and schedule them first, and then follow all of our state rules on planning and instructional time and duty-free time? And then did we make sure that we'd covered all of our board policies on length of classes and how many minutes of different subjects that we had? And then did we look at best practices? Like EVOS. EVOS is a best practice. Put your teachers with the students that they do the best in terms of getting growth. That's a best practice. And then 5, did we talk to teachers about the schedule? But it has to be in that order. It has to be in that order. Federal law comes first, then state law, then board policy, then best practices, which is EVOS, and then teacher input. You can't get it twisted. If you do, it won't go well for you. I can tell you that right now. I tell the story. I went to a school in eastern North Carolina. All I know is I saw a sign that said 35 miles to Topsail. I couldn't tell you where I was because my GPS just had a spinning wheel on it. It didn't even have a map. I was so far out in the middle of nowhere. Point of the story is you couldn't find the school unless you were hunting it. I got there, they were having a Title I audit. What are the chances that they were picked at random for a Title I audit? None. Same as my hair growing back. Not going to happen. The Title I teacher had called Raleigh and reported them for putting students in her class that weren't Title I. So I had to go back. I waited an hour to see the principal, and that was just time wasted because I had to go back 2 weeks later to meet the new principal. You don't intentionally misspend federal money, break the law, and them just say, it's okay. That's not what happens. You do that, they send you home. And so I had to go meet the new principal. So what had happened was the two non-Title I third grade teachers had 30 students in each of their classes, and they complained. And so he moved 10 each out of theirs and put them in the Title I teachers class who could not teach non-Title I kids because that's misspending federal money. And so she called Raleigh immediately and said, hey, I got 20 kids in my class that aren't Title I. You know, he forgot. He put number 5, which is teacher input, as number 1, which is federal law. If you make that mistake, you won't make it but once. And then they'll get somebody else. So you've got to make sure that everything in your schedule aligns with all the proper laws, policies, best practices. And then you develop a new schedule once you assess the process and these parts of the old one. Then you develop a draft of the new schedule. And then you write your competencies. And that's what the OMA is. So you say, Dale, we've only got, task 1 looks, really big. We've only got 1 week. Well, in fact, you got closer to 2 weeks because task 2 is just a copy and paste. It'll take you 15 minutes to do task 2. So if you don't get task 1 done until Sunday week, the 31st, or that won't be the 31st, whatever day that is, a week from this coming Sunday, you've really got until then to get task 1 done. I would like for you to have it done this Sunday, but if you don't, we understand. But then both task 1 and task 2 will be due the following Sunday. But task 2 will take you 15 minutes maximum, as long as you hadn't lost your APTEL. And if you have, let us know and we'll send it back to you because we have it. Take the titles and labels off of task 1, 2, and 3, slap a task 2 OMA title on it, and roll on. You're good to go. All right, so let me go to questions right fast. If you've already been involved in some master, yes. If you're involved in master schedule, use those experience, absolutely. If the question is if you're changing, the rule on evidence is this, and that's thank you for bringing that up. That's a good question. You can have different evidences from different schools, but you can't have different tasks within an evidence from different schools. So wherever you start it, you've got to finish it. It has to be. That's not Dale's rule. That's DPI's rule. They don't. It doesn't bother them that your APTEL may not be from the same place as the OMA, but task 1 must be from the same school as task 2 and 3 and 4. The individual tasks, the entire evidence, tasks 1 through 4, have to be from the same school. So you'll just have to make whichever works the easiest for you. The person that asked that question is fine with me. Just don't mix your tasks up. Will we learn about the proper ways to document and what tools to use? Yes. That's a good segue. Here's the first thing I want you to learn to document. When everybody knows that you have to have a fire drill once a month, did you also know that you have to do 2 safety inspections a month as well, and you have to document those? The custodian and usually one of the APs, and that'll be you, the low person on the totem pole, when you get your job twice a month, has to inspect your building for fire hazards and potential dangerous or blockages or potential hazards in your school twice a month. You have to do that. You better have it documented, because if a fire starts or if a kid gets trapped or something happens, they will want to know that you did those twice monthly walkthroughs and that you've got some documentation. Under Zoom session 1, and this is one of your week 1 activities, you're to take this assessment inventory. Here's your first one that I'm giving you. If your district doesn't have one, this is the one I created years ago for Charlotte Mecklenburg. It's actually still in use. This is one where you go out and do an audit of your schools to make sure that your school is safe. Under the orderly carrying the school's physical environment, that's one of the departments in DPI. It checks on this stuff. So here it is. It has traffic control, vehicular and human. It has surveillance inside and out. It has safety devices and equipment inside and out. Safety provisions as well. These are the things that you have to look for in that twice monthly check of your. This is what we're talking about. Document. You've got to document that you did your safety inspections twice a month. If your district does not have a document, or if your fire marshal in your town doesn't give you one, this is the one you use. This will stand up in a court of law because it has been approved by DPI. As I created it, had it approved, we put it in place in CMS. So it has been vetted. It will stand up in court. If you have done all of these safety checks, your school is safe, and somebody may sue you for an unsafe school, but if you've gone through and you can answer yes on all of these, it will stand up in court. So this is one of your week 1 activities, and this is the first document that I have for you to help you learn how to document. So everything you do, there should be some, just like when you do a teacher observation, you have to document that. When you do a safety inspection, you have to document that. Discipline referrals, documentation is in Power School. You can't, and we're going to talk about disciplinary incident data later. Until it goes in, that the documentation for due process and discipline is Power School. There is a module in it on discipline. When you put it in, it generates a form. Until that form is generated, it's not documented. We're going to teach you how to get how to document all those things. We'll do that in a later class this semester. So yes, every class will have something on how do you document that. We had a discussion today of Easy IAP. That's how you document all your things in exceptional children is Easy IAP. And we'll show you, what's expected there. Tonight that we do exceptional children. We'll see if we can't get on an Easy IAP and look at it. So yes, excellent question. Segued me right into tonight's materials.
Dr. Lamb, while they're doing their internships this summer before school's out, they could ask the assistant principal or the principal, may I shadow you as you do this? And that
Yeah.
can be should be part of your clinical experience.
Exactly. The other two documents, now I have more documents than this tonight, and you're on your own to read those about finances. I have what I consider to be the landmark cases in public education. That's where your first lawsuit's most likely to occur. EC in court. Exactly right. Again, access. Again, those are access issues. That's where your first lawsuit's going to come, either student discipline or EC, or both, discipline and EC kid. That's where they're going to come from. That's exactly right. And we're going to show you the documentation and on how to avoid that as well. So reading through these are the things that have shaped public education as we know it today in America. Brown versus Board, Civil Rights Act of 65, North Carolina integrated in 66. Dr. Stebbin and I remember because we were already in school. God, I hate admitting that. School consolidation. North Carolina exited capital funding in 66. That means it's now up to the local school district to do buildings and capital, roofs, keeping the buildings up. Technology is part of capital. Elementary and Secondary Act of 65 is Title I through 9. That's where Title I came from. Tinker versus Des Moines in 69 says you have to give students due process rights. That's a biggie. Again, Dr. Crawford's right. That's where your first lawsuit's going to come on due process. That's discipline. Swan in 71 in Charlotte was a national case on integration. Educational amendments of 72, that was the Robinson case. Upheld Titles 1 through 9. 75, Robinson again upheld all of 65. Federal funding for EC came 94, 142. We were finishing school then, but it was all a part of our professional lives. It wasn't a part of our school lives, Dr. Stebbin and I, but it was a part, it was in by the time we got through college and got back, it was the law of the land. So we've lived with it all our whole lives, although we did not go to school under 94, 142 in grades 1 through 12. I didn't have kindergarten. We didn't have kindergarten back then. But it was once we started our professional careers. And so we were there on the ground floor and seen where it was then to where it is now. And I can tell you, it's incredibly complex. From the time when I was first an administrator in the early 80s, it's so much more complex now. We'll try to work you through a lot of that. Hopefully our sitting principals can help. They can chip in when we get to that part. Basic ed plan in North Carolina said every child gets a basic education. That led to, we attempted to do a career development program and differentiate and pay teachers who were better. That did not last very long. But what did come out of that was the standard course of study, which was fully implemented by 1989. Once we had the standard course of study in, then we went to the performance-based accountability, which became the state ABCs and accountability. 84 said every child gets a basic education, and somebody said, well, what is a basic education? It took 5 years. We wrote a complete curriculum for every course and every grade in school, had it up and running by 89 so that we could start measuring it. And then the state test started in 1990. So in 89, we had performance-based accountability, which became the state ABC program. That the state report card, EOG, and EOCs came out of that. So when Dr. Stebbin and I were first principals, we didn't have state testing. We didn't have accountability. We had the old California Achievement Test. So we've seen it from its very inception. 94 through 98, landmark case for the United States is Leandro. They wanted district power equalizing. The low wealth district sued the state and said that the state ought to give them more money and give less to the wealthier places that had the ability to add local money to the per pupil. That did not happen. But that's how we got the lottery. For those of you who wonder how we got the North Carolina lottery, education, that's how we got it. They said we won't differentiate the money, but we'll put a lottery in so that we'll have money to help these low wealth districts. That never happened either. Not much money ever filtered down from the lottery, but that's how we got it, was from the Leandro case.
Dr. Lamb,
Yes.
Dr. Lamb, I lived through Leandro. My
Yes.
school district was part of the lawsuit. I was a principal during that time. We received millions and millions of dollars as a part of Judge Manning's decision. So,
yeah, that's exactly right. And I lived the other end of it in one of the high wealth districts that was being sued. So Judge Manning was not only, we had to live through that as well. And so, yes, Dr. Crawford's made a good point here. Reading A Nation at Risk, which came out in '83, at some point would be good. Genuinely believe the beginning of the age of accountability. I've got one here in my bookshelf somewhere. I won't pull it off, but yes, that was kind of the primer for the age of accountability. It's called A Nation at Risk. That would be a good one to read about accountability. 2001, exactly 30 years after Swan, Cappuccione lawsuit overturned Swan, which said no more busing for integration. But more importantly, it said if schools resegregate, the school district nor the state were not obligated to remedy them. So we've seen a resegregation of schools because of that finding of unitary. 2001, No Child Left Behind. No child go to a low performing school. You all know that. Probably what you don't know is no child has to go to a persistently dangerous school. We'll spend a good part of one night understanding what a persistently dangerous school is according to the incidents that occur, acts of crime and violence. Only the acts of violence count against you, though. But we'll go over that one night. That make more schools have fallen prey to the persistently dangerous than low performing, unfortunately. EVOS came in 2010, value added. The way that we measure teacher effectiveness now is if 85% of their students make growth. I'll spend one evening teaching you how to calculate an EVOS score. It's a linear regression. Because people say, I want to work with this group because it's easier to get. No, every kid's score is individual to him. Now, it is true that some teachers work better with certain levels of kids than others, but every kid has the same probability to make their growth. And so we'll talk about EVOS one night. And then elimination of master's pay, elimination of career status, and vouchers and charter school expansion. In 2014, that has kind of shaped the modern landscape. So those are the things that I think are important. Those are the things that I think are important. They have shaped the legal landscape of what we're doing. Our district doesn't use EVOS anymore. Is it okay for these? Yes. Is that where school choice came from? School choice came from the Charter School Act in 2010. And so the expansion came then, but yes, charter started in 10. They were around before that, but they didn't get a seat at the table until 2010. Charters started in the mid-90s. They were basically local charters, but the state didn't pick them up till about 2010, and they got a seat at the table. Conceptual analysis in task 1. I'll go back to that in just a minute. So let me finish this up. The other document that I wanted to cover tonight, and I'm being very fast here, is here are the relevant laws that speak to budget. There you can see that the prefix is all 115C. There are 545 public school laws in North Carolina. They're all under 115C, but there's 545 of them. 288 is duties and responsibilities principle. Here are the ones that are relevant to you in handling money in a school situation. So when I have people that come back and say, the first thing you have to do is go out and find your school budget. I have people that come back and say, my principal said we don't make that public. Yes, they do. If it's a public school in North or South Carolina, they most certainly do. They do not want to. I didn't want my hair to fall out. That's not up to them. The law is very clear. It shall allow parents of any child in school or any other interested person, that would be you. If you work there, you're an interested, you have standing legally, you're an interested person. And you can ask for the copy of this current budget and the school improvement plan. They have to present them to you on demand. It talks about how money comes when $7,000 a year comes to the state per pupil. You don't get the whole $7,000. You get $700 a month for 10 months. And you get it the second month of school if you spend it right the first month. So you have to have enough money on hand to run the first month of school. You don't get the whole 700. You get a percentage of the 700 each month based on average daily membership. So if the membership for your district is 95% for that month, you get 95% of that money, that $700 per pupil. That's just the way it works. They don't pay for kids that don't come. That's why if you count kids present that aren't there, they'll take your job because you're defrauding them of money. That's a modified accrual accounting system. You have to receipt money daily. If you do ball games, you have to do tickets. You get audited every year. You have a school set treasurer, have to have 2 signatures on checks. You need to read through this document. And then you will have similar policies. These are the state laws. And then you'll have local board policies that go along with finance as well. These are the ones from Charlotte-Mecklenburg. You'll have similar in your district, and they speak to accounting and auditing and fundraising and ticket sales and deposit of funds, running businesses out of the school, conflict of interest. All those things will be covered in your policy. I've got these just to kind of as a primer, what you should be looking for. You need to work through these on your own to educate yourself. I'm not going to spend a great amount of time. Yeah, Dr. Jamal just made a good point. They'll fire you faster for the money being gone than they will for poor test scores. That's exactly right. If the money gets gone. Now, and one more thing on finances before I go back and look at the conceptual framework on the OMA. Do not be that person who thinks that if you delegate fundraising to the school PTA or PTO, that absolves you of any responsibility. Oh, no, it does not. If it goes wrong for them, you'll be fired or demoted based on inability to maintain fiscal standards and fiscal control. That is a provision of your contract, that you maintain fiscal standards and control. And if you delegate the fundraising to the PTA or PTO, you can delegate the activity, but not the responsibility. If the PTA president absconds with all your money, you're in trouble. And they may let her pay it back, or prayer for judgment and paybacks, something. But now they're not going to be that lenient with you. So I have all these people who say, well, I talked to my assistant principal and they said they don't have to worry about fundraising because they delegated it to PTA. I said, that person's going to be like dogs chasing cars. They're going to catch one eventually. They're not going to last long. If you let somebody else handle your money, you're in trouble. You need to be on top of fundraising. You need to make sure that you're not using class time to fundraise. Get them all approved up front. Don't do anything controversial. Those kinds of things. So make sure you read through these and then go to your district in your policy manual, which is online, and read about the specific policies about finance in your district. They'll be similar to this. All right, one more question, and then we're going to go back to conceptual framework. Yeah, booster clubs, you better keep an eye on them. Again, that's the same thing. If your boosters, do crazy things, you'll be responsible for it. Just understand that that's your job. So I have one question before we finish up tonight. We're actually doing pretty good on time for the first night. I knew we'd run a little long tonight. We won't normally run this long, but we had to do 3 different things tonight. So when we talk about the conceptual analysis, let's go back and look at that quickly. That was the one last question that we had. Contextual analysis. That's when you look at right here. Helps us assess within the historical, environmental, cultural setting. All right. So again, the contextual analysis is the information from your accreditation about your average income, average education, all the things about your community. The internal is everything on your state report card, which is attendance, discipline, academic achievement, quality teachers, all those kinds of things. All of that is your contextual analysis. And then make sure that you add into that this one right here. This is basically your faculty handbook. All the information in it as well. Equity and transparency is all of your exceptional learners and the budgeting process. So this is what we're looking for. If you will look at the example that we've got for you here, I mean, it's very straightforward. And since it's not a North Carolina example, that's why I have provided it for you. Look at your OMA example here. And it has everything that you need to have in yours. So the contextual analysis is what she's got. She talks about the school, the community it's in, how many students they've got, where they come from, their mission, vision, their enrollment. I mean, she goes right into everything about their school. She did a quick and dirty on their community. It's Hickam Air Force Base. There it is. Tells about the community that it's in. That's how it starts, external. She quickly switched to internal, mission, vision, demographic, race, income, went through all the different exceptional children's programs that they have, or exceptional populations program. Title I, do you have English as second language? Do you have gifted? Do you have EC 504? Went through all the programs that they have and gave a brief description of all of them. There it is, gifted and talented, attendance, discipline, RTI, response to intervention. Remember, I told you intervention is part of EC, RTI and MTSS. That goes in special populations as well. She talks about intervention. She's got her RTI here. She's got all of those. They're project aware. She's got gifted and talented. She goes through all the special pops, what they've got, and an explanation of them. And the criteria to get into these, AVID, that's a special population. She's got all of that stuff. She has a separate background in community history. Talks about parents. She's got that section covered. Then she talks about the faculty and staff. Then she talks about finances and budgeting. Don't forget to put in the school improvement team, how much input they have in that. Then she talks about the achievement gap, talks about their academic standing, what areas are identified needs, different programs that they have. And then she goes into her next area there. But if you'll just follow this, you don't have to copy it. But here, again, you can see the APTEL is in here. Hers is a little bit long. Yours doesn't have to be quite this long. Remembering that this was a full master student who had all semester to do this. This was not an add-on. I provided this one to look at the format more than the content. I do not expect yours to be this long, but I expect you to have the same things in it. She had 16 weeks to do this one. You've got 4. So adjust your time accordingly. But this should answer your question on contextual. We want to know everything about your school. We want to know all the operational things about it. We want to know everything that has a number associated with it. We want to know what's going on. That's what we're looking for. All right. We completed community history in the app cell. Thank you. I said you've already done that. That's a copy and paste from the app cell. We told you when you did your school setting, background and setting in the app cell that you would use it again. You're using it again. You did it. That's exactly right. You did the external context for your app cell. That's why we had you do it. Just copy and paste it, and your community history, the external part of your contextual analysis is done. So that part of the context, so that's a good head start. Then you start with the internal things. Just follow the roadmap that Amber has laid out for you here. Again, yours should not be this long. This is a 4-week project. This was a 16-week project for her. She was a full master's student. And here is their schedule changes, reflections. I mean, what a great job she did. So pay particular attention to her task 1, all the things that are in her contextual analysis, especially the special populations. Tell us what you got at your school. You may not have Title I. You may not have gifted. You may not have exceptional, English as second language. But tell us what special pops you have. Remember, your intervention kids that have been referred for intervention, the ones that are in MTSS and RTI, response to intervention, multi-tiered system of support, kids that are being worked with prior to a decision or placement in EC, special populations as well. AVID is a special population. Tell us about the programs you got in your school. It don't have to be as long as these, but it has to be as comprehensive in terms of what you've got. Right.
In answer to Rosalind's questions, Rosalind, if yours, whatever you've done, if it's long, then leave it like it is. Don't go back and take anything out. He's just telling you that it doesn't have to be that long.
Doesn't have to be this long. Don't take anything out. Lord, no. If you've got a long one, we love to read them.
And this section is going to be pretty comprehensive, isn't it, Dr. Lamb?
Yes. We want to know everything operationally about your school. We want to know everything. Because if you're a principal, you need to know everything. You need to have all this information. You can't make good decisions if you don't know if you don't have all the data. I mean, that's part of this is understanding this is all data. Some of it's narrative, but it's all data, and it's there for you to make decisions. How can you make duty rosters, supervision schedules, master schedules if you don't have all this information? The programs that you put in your school have to fit your school. I've told you, I worked for a superintendent one time, and I tell people to quote me accurately. I didn't say he was a pinhead. I said he could wear a thimble for a hat. There's a difference. And so he thought that every school ought to have AVID. It worked fine in about 30% of the schools in the district. The other 70% of the schools in the district had no business doing AVID. But that it wasn't a fit. But he didn't care. He didn't understand that you have to have a goodness of fit, that you have to know your school and your population and what your numbers are, and you design or adopt programs, treatments, or fixes based on your school. All he knew was AVID had worked where he was before, which was a small district, that all the schools were exactly the same, and it fit. And so he said if it worked in all the schools there, which I think was about 14, it'll work in all 200 in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. No, it worked in about 60 of them. The other 140 were just standing around looking at one another. What are we doing with this? We don't have this problem. Either they had students who were way too high for AVID or way too low. And then then imagine this: he was mad as fire at the end of the first year when he complained we put all these kids that were too low in AVID. But that's who we got. Their mama sent the best ones they had. We didn't have any other to put in there. It wasn't appropriate for our school. AVID's not for that low a kid. It's for a kid who's just not first generation college kid potentially who's not living up to his potential. We had people that, that were way below grade level. Avid's not for people below grade level. And then we had some schools like where my wife taught. She was at the IB school at Davidson that had the 240 smartest kids in the district. Was an extreme population, all 99 percenters. What did they need Avid for? They were all going to college. All their parents had been to college. There was nobody there who was not going to end up at college as a lab school campus of Davidson College. If you don't know what Davidson College is, that's the Harvard of the South. That's where Steph Curry went to school. Every kid there goes to graduate school. It's $75,000 a year to go to school there. These were kids from that population at the middle school there. It was a district-wide magnet for IB International Baccalaureate. 240 limited students. Enrollment was limited to 240, 80 per class, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. These were Einstein. These kids wore glasses so thick it would burn paper if the light hit them just right. That's how smart these kids were. Why in the world would they need Avid? And we had many schools at the upper end. And so the point is for you to know how to manage your school effectively, to make good decisions. You've got to know what your school is about. OMA Task 1 is the ultimate data collection. Everything that's important about your school, we should know. Special populations, the discipline, the attendance, the grades, the teachers. Everything that's important about your school, we should know. Because that's going to help you when you put your master schedule together and when you start trying to improve your school, you have the data that would lead you to that. That's what Task 1's about. All right. I see I've got 3 minutes left. I think I've set this session for 90 minutes. It's probably going to cut off here for long. What's next? I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Crawford for any comments that he has, and then we'll go to Dr. Hamilton, Dr. Shepard, and Dr. Stedman. You can give the benediction tonight.
Okay.
I think we've covered everything, so I was looking forward to getting through these next 10 weeks.
Yes. Thank you. Dr. Hamilton?
It's been a great evening. Thank you all for everything.
Thanks. Thank you. Dr. Shepard, thank you for your input tonight on access and eligibility. Anything else that you have for us? Again, I will have Dr. Hamilton has her shell, her clinical shell. Dr. Crawford, I was working in his yesterday. Those of you who had Dr. Stedman as clinical coach and had Dr. Crawford as your instructor last semester, we switched their roles this semester. Dr. Stedman is now teaching you, so you're now in Dr. Crawford's clinical shell. I moved you yesterday or day before. Dr. Hamilton stays with her. Dr. Shepard stayed with him. His shell has disappeared. I'll find it, though, and get it back. You'll have it'll say Shepard clinical internship, just like Crawford clinical internship. You go there. Now, you only have to go if you want to, number one, or number two, if me or Dr. Stedman sends you. So remember that. We're streamlining the process this summer. We have to. We only have 10 weeks. Dr. Stedman, it's time for the benediction.
Okay, all of them, we've worked with them last semester. They all know how to get in touch with me as they need to. They know I'll give them quick feedback. They know I'll answer the phone if they call me. So, I'm here if you need me. Dr. Lamb and I will be looking early over the next couple of days. We'll begin seeing work come in on task 1 of the OMA. So, just make sure that you are comprehensive with it and follow the template and follow the prompts and directions as they're given. But I look forward to working with you.
All right. Before we go tonight, Dr. Stedman, Shepard, Hamilton, Crawford, I'm going to send you all a link as soon as I get this one processed. And I'm going to talk with y'all just a minute tonight. I don't want to hold you too much longer. And then we'll skull session a little bit tonight after this one, and then we'll go on. So I'm going to send you a link within a couple minutes. Everybody else, students, thank you for joining us tonight. We're we're not only pleased that you joined us tonight, we're pleased that you joined us, period. We're glad to have you. We appreciate that your participation in the program. We appreciate what you do and that you put your faith in us to join us for this journey. So we will see you all next week. Work on OMA 1 again. Don't be stressed out if you don't get it in by Sunday. Since OMA 2 is simply a cut and paste, you have till Sunday week to get that one in there if you need it. All right, everybody, we'll see you all next week, same time.
Okay. Okay.
The link's different next week, so make sure that you notice that the link starting next week is different than the one from tonight. Will be the same the rest of the semester. So when will we hear something from Task Stream? I don't know what that means. Everything that's in Task Stream has been graded. Task Stream request comments, as I said, everybody can do that. I'm giving Dr. Crawford flashback. Everybody, we're going to meet about Task Stream right now. So if you've got something in Task Stream, if it was submitted for evaluation, it's been done because there's nothing to evaluate. I checked right before we came online. If you put something in for comments, you might want to go back and request comments again because we have had problems with Task Stream since for a couple of weeks here. If you've requested comments, go back and request them again. If you put something in for evaluation, you better go check because there's nothing in there now to be evaluated. Check that, and then get in touch with me individually. DLam at Gardner Webb. All right.